All right, welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Backdoor Cuts. We skipped last week just with the holidays. College basketball kind of got overshadowed by the World Cup, college football, NFL. Not exactly surprising outside of the dumbass World Cup, which I love, obviously, go USA. But the timing of the World Cup's just stupid, and I hate it so much. For those that are joining for the first time, here's what we do. We'll run through it again. 30-minute show, especially today with the World Cup stuff going on. Run through best bets, anything kind of general in college basketball. Take your chat questions, anything you have. Dukes is going to be joining me here in a second. He had to step away real quick. Run through the top games of today and kind of the card. We'll do this. The plan is every Tuesday, Thursday. Obviously, we've been adjusting a little bit just the way the schedule is broken early. But that's what we have going on. So we're back into it. I think this is kind of the first checkpoint of the season. So I want to touch on some futures, what Dukes and I had at the start the preseason or before the year. We're now like halfway through non-conference, so you can kind of adjust your futures, put another bet in if you want, hedge, whatever you want to do. Clee112 says Feast Week being overlooked is disappointing. Such a good week. I honestly don't know how many casual fans know what the hell happened last week. It was mayhem. And it shows in the poll, which I hate the AP poll. I think it's fucking stupid. I think it's a lot of old people that don't watch games, that have no idea how to rank teams, ranking them for the hell of it, which is how like last year Georgia gets ranked because if somebody hits that button instead of Gonzaga. So it was mayhem. It was an awesome week. You had Purdue, who's now a top 5 team in the country, gets 8 first place votes because they go out and win one of the Phil Knight tournaments. You have Arizona as a top 5 team because they go out and win Maui. You have people talking about Creighton because they beat Arkansas and then played Arizona in an awesome game. You have people talking about UNC, which I've talked about all year. No one wanted to listen to me, though. Just calling me a hater. Who doesn't look like the number 1 team in the country, take the biggest fall in the history of the AP poll for a number 1 team, down to number 18. They fell 17 spots. Could have saw that coming. You have people questioning Gonzaga. You have Xavier looking all right. It was all over the place. It was overlooked, which sucks because it is one of my favorite weeks of the year. And not to mention like Tennessee beating Kansas. Dude, Clee112 said Feast Week being overlooked is disappointing. Such a good week. I talked about it with you a couple minutes before we came on. It's true. I love that week, and I had a good week. I gave out UConn plus 700 to win one of the Phil Knights. I had Tennessee plus 200 to win Battle for Atlantis, and then I gave out Arkansas. So 2 and 1 on the futures bets for Feast Week with a plus 700 winner to go with a 2-1 winner. I'll take that every day of the week.
I think we should all just forget about Feast Week, act like it didn't happen.
Yeah, you had a fun week, huh?
Once it got bad, is like it can't get any worse, and just took a fucking shit in my face. But yeah, Feast Week being overlooked was extremely disappointing. There was a lot of good games. A lot of teams came out of there. You know, I mean, I'm not going to hide it. I think like a Purdue comes out of Feast Week. You're looking at them as like, oh, holy shit, they are a top 5 team.
So here's my thing with Purdue, and I like Purdue a lot. I think Matt Painter's a hell of a coach. This is kind of what Purdue does. Like the first thing, they always look awesome to start the year, and then they kind of plateau a little bit. And my fear with Purdue, and the reason I'm not all in on them, are one, I still struggle trusting a team that plays through a big man. Like we see that all the time. Like guards win in March. I know Zach Edey is a legit monster. He's literally a monster. He's a giant. I struggle with it, and he's been awesome. Like he was the reason they won out in Portland. But I struggle backing a team for a futures bet that plays through the post as much as they want to, and like runs through a big man. And then I wonder, like I had this talk with someone else where teams early in the year, like Purdue, always look good because Matt Painter runs plays, right? Like the teams that have kind of the free-flowing offense take a little bit of time to adjust and figure it out as the year goes on. Purdue has these plays. They always look awesome to start the year. Like last year, they looked awesome to start the year. They were number 1, lose at Rutgers, kind of plateau, end up losing St. Peter's. That's just my fear with Purdue and why I hesitate backing them. And I'm pulling up what they are right now because I wanted to tie this into some futures bets. So because it is wide open, it feels like this year now.
Here's my thing with Purdue that I agree that it could definitely change throughout the year. So I was saying this the other night to I think Bohannon, but 2 years ago, right when they had Edie, Trevion, and Ivy,
Yeah.
and they were no names for the most part. But Trevion was a name, but like for the most part, like Edie was just a good guy.
Edie's
Ivy
just a
wasn't
monster,
like there wasn't really talk about Ivy in the lottery yet. They had no egos. They were like they were like a 4 seed. They lost to North Texas. Everyone thought going into everyone picked them that year to be like a Final Four sleeper team.
I had them. Yeah. I love that team. Yeah.
But next year, what happens? Everybody comes out with like NBA draft hopes. Like there was just too many hoopers, too much talent on that team, right? This team right now is they have basketball players. Like Mason Gillis, Caleb First. Lawyer is a fucking stud.
Lawyer is fucking awesome.
Like I just think that the way that they are balanced as a basketball team, the cohesiveness that they have and the way that they can play together. And, Edie, I think has taken tremendous strides as a passer, especially. I've been since I forget they might have played like Milwaukee game 1. I was like, I think Purdue was going to be a top 10 team, and I knew it was I was kind of saying it like jokingly because it's against Milwaukee, but I think they are legit. It's just their defense that has to be consistent.
So they're 20-1 to win the future, to win the title right now. Would you put that on So right now,
how many features do I get?
So let's say, all right, we each gave out 1 or 2, I think, in the preseason. Let's say you can add 3. Let's say you can add 3 futures right now, because I think this is the first checkpoint, right? Like we're about halfway through the non-conference. Yeah. I think this is where people start looking at okay, here are teams that I think are going to be tier 1 teams throughout the entire year. I want to get a future in on them now before the price drops. So what 3 futures would you add?
So just for national championship?
Just for national championship.
I think that I'd keep Houston.
Yeah, they're all right. They're plus 650. Heavy favorites.
Fuck, this is hard. You know what? I'd probably say Houston. Let me go look at the odds really quick. Because I was going to say a North Carolina. Okay, I'd pick Houston. I would take Purdue. And I'd probably take North Carolina because I don't know how – only because I'm not saying North Carolina is necessarily good. I'm saying that how much more are they going to drop?
I think this is who they are. I think this – and I said this in the preseason. I'm dying on this.
I'm not saying that they're going to win it. I don't think they're going to win it. As a gambler, I'm like, all right, if they started at plus 900 and now you can get them at plus 1,300,
all right, so that's the one hill I die on. The other one, Joey Niswanger just commented, just took Creighton a few days ago. The other hill I'm dying on is I don't like Creighton at all to win the national championship. I think they're a little overvalued. Listen, they looked really good in Maui, but they still lost to Arizona, right? And my fear with them, they don't have a bench.
Yeah,
especially they play 7 guys. They don't have a backup for Kalkbrenner. Kalkbrenner gets in foul trouble or gets hurt. And you can say that with a lot of different people, obviously, but they just don't have any depth behind them. They don't have any depth on the team in general. Besides Mike Miller's kid, and the other, why am I blanking on his name? He's got the European name that comes off the bench. That's really all they play, and it's a reason why I don't like Creighton, and a reason why I think that Vegas shows them at 25-1. They're not in the top 10 for a reason, and I think Vegas
think there's a shot and shit that they win the national championship, but I do respect that they're good.
I agree. When I say I think they're overvalued, I think they're a top 15 team versus a top 10 team. It's not like I'm saying they stink out loud or anything like that. So my 3 teams, I'm sticking with Baylor. They're now 15-1. I gave them out preseason. I gave them every which way. Loved Baylor. I know they lost to Virginia. I'm not overly concerned about it. I think I would add Texas at 12-1. They look the real part.
Yeah.
I think Beard can coach. They have the Hunter transfer is massive. If Disu can stay healthy, Texas, Baylor, and Houston, those 3 teams all in the same state, throw in Texas Tech and give me a state tournament because I would watch the shit out of that. It just shows how backwards college basketball is that Texas is the best state for college basketball right now.
What about Arkansas? You think Arkansas is legit? I think I'm going to take a stab at Arkansas.
I would probably lean more. So the other two teams I would look at would be Arizona at 14-1 or UConn at 25-1.
Yeah, I think UConn has obviously had a really good week.
Yeah, and I still question. Like I posed this question to someone of, as of right now, what teams would you put in tier 1 for college basketball? And like I don't know what to do with Virginia, Purdue, UConn. I don't think Arkansas can be there. They have some. They took the loss. They're close though, but like I don't know what to do with those three teams especially.
Oh, I think they're all tier 1 right now. Just because they're tier 1 right now doesn't mean they have to be next week. But like their resume speaks for itself, and it's better than it's better. It's probably better than the ones that you're going to put in tier 1.
Maybe, but like I think the only locks for tier 1 would be Houston, Arizona, Texas. I still put Baylor there. I know I contradict myself because they lost, but like.
Right, but like, how are you going to say that Purdue and UConn don't deserve?
No, I know, but I'm saying in terms of going long term.
Fine, but I'm a big Houston. I love Houston. I think.
Well, Houston's awesome. I think Houston's the best team in the country.
If we're gonna, it's not like they particularly against like good competition have looked that great. Like Kent State gave them the scare and Oregon gave them the scare.
Yeah, but it's also a road game at Oregon, and they covered.
I know. I'm just saying that. I'm like, how are we going to look at Purdue beating Gonzaga and Duke by basically 20 and be like, you know what, we're not going to put you in tier 1 for right now.
No, I know, but that's what I struggle with is because I'm trying to look at it long term, and I just have the nightmares of every other Purdue team outside of like Carson Edwards where they just plateau. Like they look awesome, and I'm not saying they'll fall off dramatically, but they kind of plateau where it's like, all right, they're just going to be a top 16 team all year or whatever. So I would add, like I said, I'm keeping Baylor. I would add Texas, who's 12-1. And I mean, like I would love that Arizona 14-1. I don't know if I want 3 teams that are in the top 6. I would probably look at UConn 25-1.
Yeah, I think UConn looks really good.
Yeah, and I would let me look up real quick. I wonder what they are to win the Big East. They're plus 250 to win the Big East. I would take that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Creighton's plus 140. I would take UConn in a heartbeat over that.
I also think St. John's plus 2,000 is worth a stab. I mean, I don't know if they'll necessarily win it over those other guys, but I think St. John's is low key going to cause ruckus in that conference. I have them finishing top 3.
I just feel like they're going to be St. John's and they're going to finish 500 because that's all St. John's and Mike Anderson ever does.
Yeah, I think Curbelo and the freshmen that they brought in provides a different dynamic than they had in years past.
Yeah, and David Jones is really good, but like, I don't know. Curbelo and Posh are still just
Posh also isn't necessarily playing his best basketball.
Yeah,
like I think they're.
I don't trust.
I think they'll get.
I don't trust those two guards.
I've been watching them a lot. I really like St. John's, and I do like those 2 guards right now.
Will come Big East play too? That's the question. Like, would you take those 2 guards over Creighton's guards over UConn's
I think Curbelo is playing nasty right now.
Yeah, but once we get into Big East play, that's the question, right? Because it doesn't matter.
So, if I think they're going to finish top 3, basically towards the end of the year, if it's top 3 and someone has to win one, lose one, like for St. John's to move up, injuries you're talking about, like, if Kalkbrenner gets injured again, Creighton then might move back. Like, I think St. John's right there in the hunt. If you're going to get them at plus 2,000, is worth a stab.
I get it. If you're looking outside of that, I still like Xavier at plus 600 just because Sean Miller is probably the best coach in the conference. Maybe Thad. You can argue Thad Matta, and then like they just play their asses off. And I think Sean Miller, Colby Jones getting back healthy. I think Nunji's a mismatch. Freeman, like they have the depth, they have the talent. I do kind of like Xavier to be a disruptor in there. So 6-1 for them because like the odds are kind of weird looking at the Big East on the Barstool Sportsbook. Creighton plus 140, UConn plus 250, Villanova plus 500, Xavier plus 600, St. John's 20-1, Seton Hall 22-1. So there is money to be made there. It's just either you go hard on Creighton and load up, which I wouldn't do, or you take a stab at someone else, like we talked about. Brooks says going to Gonzaga Baylor on Friday, still a potential Final Four matchup. I still think the Zags are Final Four contender. Yeah, I don't see why not. I know people shit on Gonzaga because they got their asses kicked by Texas and Purdue, but they also have wins over Xavier, Kentucky, and Michigan State. And I think that Nolan Hickman's going to turn out to be a really good player. Figure it out. I think Strother is a game changer for him. I think that Timmy is an All-American. I understand why people like to hate on Gonzaga. I just don't get it. Like, I will back Gonzaga as much as I can until they prove me otherwise.
Same. I don't know. So here's my thing. I think they thought that Malachi Smith from Chattanooga was going to be something that he's not right now.
Being coming off the bench, like, he's great as your third or fourth guard.
For sure. I mean, beginning of the year, they were playing him way more than they are now, I feel like.
Right. And Gonzaga's – all right, so Gonzaga's plus 350 to make a Final Four. I don't know if you'll get better odds at that for them unless they, like, choke in the WCC or some shit like that.
It's going to be very funny when Gonzaga does make the Final Four.
Yeah, and they're going to probably be like a 1 seed or a 2 seed again.
Yeah, I don't – honestly, I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if they will be. And I think that's fine. I think they could be – who do they have left on their schedule?
They still have –
So they have Baylor and Bama.
I mean, you win those two, you're right in line for a 1 seed.
For sure, but if they go 1-1, 0-2,
yeah, then they're
probably going to look at like a 4 or 5.
They have Kent State and Washington, which are 2 top 100 games, both at home though. And then the WCC, as much as people shit on it, like
it's pretty good this year.
It's a better conference. Like just looking through real quick on KenPom, San Francisco, Santa Clara, BYU, St. Mary's are all top 100 teams, and then Portland 105.
I fucking love Portland.
Portland's coach is going to be a star in this thing.
Yeah,
he is going to get a big time job. Good. He's going to end up taking over for like Washington or Oregon if Dana Altman steps down at some point. Like he's going to get one of those jobs, and he's going to be fucking awesome. Like I'm all in on Portland's coach.
Wasn't he the coach that coached the Groves brothers?
I believe so. Shante Leggins. Yeah, he was at Eastern. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he built something up there.
I love that did you see him after they lost that game on Sunday to Michigan State where he went to the ref after the no call for the game winner and just said, "We got fucked," and yelled at the ref with it? Like, give me that guy.
I didn't see that. It's
hilarious. Give me a guy like that over 90% of coaches. Yeah. I want a guy that's afraid to get like after the game. He knows he's probably going to get fined. He knows he's going to do it. But like you're Portland playing Michigan State. You had a chance to win. Questionable no call. You go to the ref and you tell him we got fucked.
That's so funny.
Like legit on the court screaming in the ref's face.
That's amazing. I didn't see that. I know that Izzo sucked him off in the press conference.
Izzo probably – I can't talk about Izzo. Izzo had a quote yesterday like still blaming Michigan and going after the Big Ten for the tunnel incident. Like, dude, just
let
take a step back and stop complaining. Like, Izzo bothers me. Izzo bothers me so much. Especially, like, some of the things he says, I'm just like when he goes after, like, the transfer portal, and I'm like, dude, you start 2 transfers. Like, you got Walker and you got Hauser from the portal. You can't sit here and blast the transfer portal while also starting 2 guys from it.
Yeah.
Like, it's welcome to 2022, Tom. All right, tonight's games. So tomorrow's the loaded slate. Today's still really good. We have Virginia at Michigan, Baylor at Marquette, Penn State at Clemson's a sneaky game, Missouri at Wichita State's a sneaky game, Syracuse at Illinois, Maryland at Louisville, which fucking Louisville. Kenny Payne, I love the guy. I despise him now because he's at Louisville, but Kentucky, Kenny Payne, Knicks, Kenny Payne, love the guy. Are they the worst? Like, I want to see. Like I said, I want to see the Texas State tournament. I want to see a tournament with Georgetown, Cal, Louisville, and like
Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State or like Nebraska or something like that. They suck.
Florida State, I'm not kidding when I say Louisville is that bad, but Florida State is sneaky just as bad and not getting talked about enough.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing Florida State has for them is like Bob and Miller getting the ridiculous suspension and injuries, but you can't be losing to the teams that they're losing to. You just can't.
Dude, they're losing Stetson, Troy, UCF, Siena, Nebraska.
Yeah, you can't lose in Nebraska.
Yeah, there's just bad. It's bad all over.
All right, so let's run through a couple of these top games with some picks and then best bets and the card. Virginia, Michigan, obviously the game of the day. Virginia, like I said, I don't know what to think of them. Michigan, they haven't looked right? Like they escaped against Ohio. They escaped against Eastern Michigan. They got their asses kicked by Arizona State. Something's not clicking there yet, right? Like they have Hunter. They bring in 5 stars. Like they have these pieces, but something ain't right. So the line in that game right now, which seems
3.5. Seems
tough. It seems like I want to take Michigan in that with them at home catching the point. I assume everybody will kind of be on Virginia. This is where like college basketball gets interesting, is all the letdowns after Feast Week.
Yeah.
And this is like they go right into the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and that seems like the prime letdown spot. Like how many times do we see Team X wins whatever tournament, then they play on the road in this ACC Big Ten Challenge where they're favored by like 4 or 5 and then lose outright? I feel like it happens every single year.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to take Michigan in this one.
It's not crazy.
Like it's a stay away for me because I want to see, if anything, what's the total in this one? I would take. Why am I missing the total here? 128.5. I would take the over.
It's not crazy.
So I think Virginia can score.
Virginia can score. I think this might be potentially Virginia's best offense.
I don't think so. I don't think it's better than the title team. I don't think it's better than Jerome and Guy in that group.
Well, yeah, I don't really have an argument against that yet because they won a national championship, but it's still early in the year.
Yeah, I mean, they're shooting the hell out of the ball.
Yeah, like I think that Michigan's not really – so Michigan hasn't really been able to – Hunter's been amazing, but they haven't been – their shooters haven't really been consistently knocking down shots for –
yeah, they're 230th in the nation in three-point percentage.
Yeah, so they like that's obviously going to ruin their offense, and especially if they're not shooting like getting like at least like 6 to 8 3-pointers a game, like their offense is just fucked. Do I think that Hunter can absolutely eat tonight on Virginia? Yeah, but I know it's ratty and I know it's trappy, but I'm going to take Virginia minus 3.5.
Yeah, I would go over 128.5. I think it's one where Virginia's going to be able to get the looks that they want. They shoot the hell out of the ball. Michigan's a decent but not great 3-point defense. I think that matters. Virginia's 4th in the country in 3-point percentage. They're shooting 45% as a team, which is outlandish. Also sneaky, Virginia gets to the line the second most in the country. So if you're talking about
at the end of the game
getting the over or covering, that's massive. And like obviously they shoot 73.5% from the line, so that helps. Michigan's defense is average in terms of like power conferences, so yeah, I would go over. But I do like I understand taking Virginia. I think it's a stay away for me in terms of a team side, but I would take the over. Second game is Baylor Marquette, which is another weird line. Baylor's giving 6 in this one. Over under 154.5. I feel like it's begging you to take Baylor, and I'm trying not to.
I'm taking Baylor. I think Baylor's going to blow them out of the fucking gym.
I agree. I don't think Marquette can hit enough shots. Like Marquette's offense isn't what we're used to, like what we typically think of Marquette offense. Like they survive on forcing turnovers, defense. They can hit shots when they have to, but like this isn't like the Marcus Howard, Hauser era Marquette fucking light you up for 90 points. Like Marquette overs were money back in the day. On the road, like I hate taking road favorites. It's like one of my least favorite things to do. But I think Baylor's the second best team in the country.
I don't think Baylor gets affected really too much early season. Like, I don't think that Marquette's really going to affect their play too much. I think they'll just like zone it out and just. I mean, I think it's going to get to a point where Baylor's going to go on like a 12-0 run, and it's going to be suffocating for Marquette.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Baylor's guards are good enough to just light you up.
Yeah, like I think that's how I see the game going. Is it's just gonna get too much for Marquette to really chip away at.
And let me see the stat. There was a stat with Shaka versus Baylor. Obviously going back to his Texas days, which take it with a grain of salt, but it was Shaka was 2-10 against Scott Drew.
That's incredible.
So I mean, Scott Drew knows the game plan. Like it's not like Shaka's running something different. So all right, let's run through cards real quick. What's your best bet? What's your card?
I think my best bet, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maryland -13 against Louisville. I will continue to fade Louisville until they prove me
They're
wrong.
so bad.
It's not really so much I'm betting on Maryland. I'm betting against Louisville and how little I think of them right now. They will eventually, in ACC play, sneak up on someone good.
Yeah, they're gonna pull off a big upset at some point.
And that's why it's like, is this like the time everyone's shitting on them? Like, I don't think it's the time. I think they suck that bad right now. Maryland -13. I also like Baylor -6.5. I like Penn State +1.5. UVA -3.5, and then Duquesne -3.5.
So we're actually opposite on one game. So my best bet is Wisconsin -5.5. Wake has had to use big runs against mediocre teams. They're going now to the Kohl Center. And it's not like I love Wisconsin, but 5.5 at home in a game where I don't know if Wake's going to score enough. I'll take Wisconsin laying 5.5.
I think Wisconsin's sneaky.
Yeah. I mean, they're sneaky, but like I don't love them where it's like I made it my best bet because I don't love today's card as much.
Yeah,
but
same.
I also like I like Clemson -1.5. I think their defense is kind of tailor-made to defend Penn State's offense. That is a fear, though, is that Clemson just sucks. Brad Brownell sucks.
Yeah.
I like – where are my other ones here? I like I like Maryland Louisville under 135.5 just because Louisville can't score and Kevin Willard knows how to coach defense. So I like that under. I like UMass -2.5 at South Florida. Again, not my favorite thing to do with the road favorite. South Florida stinks. And then I like kind of like Southern Miss -7. And then I think we got to still ride with Tarleton State unders, under 134. And UC Irvine catching 12 at San Diego State. Those are the ones
Tarleton State. I said it episode 1. They're going to win a tournament game. I don't know if it's this
at
year.
some point. Yeah,
they're going to win a tournament game. Billy G. If he gets,
he's not getting Hugh Freeze. He's not getting another job.
I don't know. Like there's no ethics anywhere anymore.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know if he can coach again at a major school. Like he's kind of tailor-made for a mid-major these days.
Which is so you can
like who else will hire him? He's made to coach in the Southwest Texas area. It's like Houston ain't getting rid of Kelvin. Baylor ain't getting rid of True. Texas Tech ain't getting rid of Adams. Texas isn't getting rid of Beard. SMU might be the only one.
Why not?
I can't imagine him coaching. He might just say Tarleton. Like he's
a good coach.
He is. I just don't. I don't know how he'll do. Like A&M isn't bringing him back. I don't know how he'll do at a major program again. Ronnie Katz has Shaka 72, 49-3 as an underdog in a regular season. Yeah, I mean, Shaka thrives on telling his team that nobody believes in him. All this other bullshit, like cliche shit. But he still sucks against Scott Drew. So it's like the battle of what record do you want to take? I want to take that Scott Drew is one of the elite coaches in America, and Baylor's the second best team. So that's kind of my line of thinking. I understand Shaka's track record of being a dog, and that's where he finds the most success. But at the same time, like, Baylor's just awesome. Scott Drew is awesome. That's how my brain thinks.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, like, if it was a Big Ten school, this is if it was a Big Ten school playing against Marquette and it's like kind of those Midwest roots, I'd be like, Marquette could probably keep it close.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's just like a Baylor who's from Texas coming in, people are like, we don't really have any ties with Marquette. I don't know. It doesn't really make too much sense, but just like, I think Baylor's just going to come in and be like, we just want to fucking leave Wisconsin. Like, let's just win this game.
John Hyatt says, just got in here. We discussed Purdue's crazy weekend. We did. How good are they? We did talk about that. Purdue is Florida State tomorrow. What's the line? So it's not out in the sports book yet. Looking at KenPom, which tends to be pretty accurate to what the line ends up opening up at. Purdue would be favored by 13 at Florida State. That could be a Purdue letdown spot. Like, we talked about how, like, Louisville is going to end up beating somebody. Not letdown, but it could be one where, like, Purdue wins by 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see what that line opens up at tomorrow. So just using KenPom lines until we get them on the Barstool Sportsbook. Tomorrow's games, Ohio State at Duke. Duke is favored by 3 on KenPom. UNC at Indiana. Indiana would be favored by 6 on KenPom. Which way would you lean in those two?
Indiana would be favored by 6.
Yeah. I don't think it'll open like that, but that's what KenPom has it at.
That's tough.
Obviously, we don't get the opening lines until about midnight, middle of the night sometime. That's just the way college basketball works.
All right, so I'd probably take, I know it's ratty as fuck, but I'd probably take North Carolina right off the bat.
I would need to see what Baycott's news is, like if he's going to play or not.
Yeah, 1,000%. I feel like that's just too many points for a team that plays in a lot of hyped up environments. I know they haven't played at Assembly Hall in a while, but I still think North Carolina keeps that one close, especially if Baycott is playing. And then I like Ohio State beating Duke.
I like Ohio State too. I saw my guy Joey Lane tweeted out in the 3 times that Michigan beat Ohio State in football since like 2000, whatever it was, the last 15 years, whatever. Ohio State has played Duke in basketball that following week and have won outright every single time.
Yeah, I think that
that's the sort of dumb stat I need to see.
I think Ohio State is going to beat Duke. I don't think Duke or UNC is very good right now.
I agree with that. Duke needs to really figure out Lively and Whitehead.
Yeah, I don't think Duke is that good right now.
If Baycott plays, if he doesn't play, then the line's going to be way different, and Indiana should beat UNC. But if Baycott plays, I think UNC lines up perfectly to take away Trace and Race with Nance and Baycott, and then it's a battle of guards. And I don't love UNC's guards, but I think they're better than Indiana's.
Coming off 2 losses too, especially a 4 overtime loss, like,
are they going to lose 3 in a row type deal?
Yeah, I mean,
they might.
Yeah, they might. Which maybe you can potentially make the argument that that's what they kind of needed to start this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Like, it is the better time to take a loss is now. Like, I mean, again, look at like Creighton lost to Arizona, and then they still moved up in the polls because they lost on Wednesday, and everyone else lost later in the week. So it was like, there are better times to take a loss, I guess. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's it for today. We have our best bets. We have our card out there. Thanks, everyone. Subscribe if you haven't yet. We'll probably be back Thursday. Thursday's we have Creighton, Texas, Arizona, Utah, UCLA, Stanford, Seton Hall, Kansas. So we'll be back Thursday to run through all that stuff. Again, subscribe to the YouTube. Appreciate everyone listening.